Hey guys, welcome back to the Call to Rise podcast. We got Khalil Neal here, and I brought him on because I've known him for many years. He's got a lot of fitness experience, just training people corporately. Fitness is just his thing. He loves it, and he has a lot of knowledge, so I wanted to bring him on, bring some value to you guys, and get some insight as to what he's got going on. So Khalil, just kind of start with your journey as far as how you got to the point you are now of like, you're a trainer, but you do nutrition, you do kind of everything. Like fitness is your thing.
Yeah, 100%. So when I first started off, I guess you say my fitness journey actually started when I was pretty young. I was actually about 12 when I officially started my journey because I was a little chubby kid, and pretty much I got tired of being chubby, and I decided I wanted to do something about it. And so I would start off, I would just do simple things. I stopped eating as much junk food and drinking a bunch of pop, and I would just take walks every day, started adding push-ups in, and I would do things like that. Started with simple things, and for me, that was really beneficial because it gave me that, that foundation, that structure, so that I could like start off simply, especially since I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge when it came to health and fitness in general and all that. And for me, a lot of it was actually a big psychological thing too, because once I started seeing the results I was getting and everything, it also helped to build my confidence in myself, because I had a lot of like stuff going on at that point in my life when it came to just like family things. We had moved down from we're originally from Chicago, and we had moved down from Chicago to Decatur not too long before that. And I was having a hard time adjusting, and just like a lot of things, right? So my confidence was not in a good place.
Sure.
And so when I got into fitness, just like I said, doing the simple things like that, I started seeing the way my body was changing. I started noticing how much better it made me feel, and I decided, okay, this is something I need to stick with. So fast forward a little bit. I started, getting ready to lift weights and everything to get ready to play football in high school. Because prior to that, I didn't really have an interest in sports. I liked to be active, but I didn't really care about sports.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I want to go try out football and all that. So I decided, okay, I'm going to start lifting weights. And I really ended up taking to it. And I was just like, man, I'm kind of good at this. This feels good and all that. And also going back to, I was saying when I was younger that it was a psychological thing as well, because so much of my family had health issues and things like that. It was also even more important for me to take care of my body, to take care of my health, because like my mother, for example, she had multiple sclerosis, and growing up, I just seen her gradually lose her independence. Sure. And all that. And so for me, it also took on this like, okay, I have to build myself up to be strong enough to be able to help my family, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was really like the emotional core of me working, of me
kind of your motivation.
With it. Yeah, my central motivation, So it was a combination. It was like more, like I said, more psychological than anything. And I think that's something that became more clear to me as I got older, when I was looking back on like, man, like what was really driving me. And it was because it was a strong emotional core,
Mm-hmm.
And so fast forward, I'm continuing with like, weightlifting and doing sports and all that. And, I started thinking, I'm like, okay, what would I like to do, afterwards and all that. And so I started exploring, like, okay, different things. Like, I have a broad range of interests, okay? And for me, it's across like the whole spectrum of like, just like well-being. And for me, fitness was something that is, not only did I have a good like start on, but it was something that was like also accessible in terms of like getting into the industry. Like I just had to get a certification, like study the material, take a quiz. So I started doing all this research and all that. And like when I was still in high school and all that, I would just like watch videos, do research, read books, and just like learning like what I could about like health, wellness, and all that from the different aspects of it, from like the body, the mind, like and how all that interplays and all that.
Because you're kind of into personal development too. It's not just fitness.
Exactly.
Yep. Which in my opinion, they go together.
100%.
You can't do personal development and not have the fitness piece.
Exactly.
In my opinion, you have to have that piece, because you can't do personal development right without having the fitness piece. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that they can, and it just doesn't last. I mean, that's kind of what pushes you, like that's what keeps you going through the hard times of personal development.
Yeah.
Is that discipline of working out, keeping your body in shape, keeping your body going.
Yeah.
Because if you start losing your health, all the personal development stuff, the praying, the meditating, all that stuff, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's why, you know, I teach people, I'm like, you know, like the health, like taking care of your fitness is not just about, you know, the aesthetics and everything. Obviously the aesthetics, like, you know, everybody wants to look good, right?
Right.
You know, like that's, like, we're not going to be unrealistic about that, you know. But there's so much more to it beyond the aesthetics, you know. Like there's the fact that like your health is a foundational component of your life, you know, and everything else, like when your health is poor, everything else crumbles.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the, I feel like there's like foundational elements to human thriving.
Right.
You know, and health is definitely one of those pillars. You
Yeah.
know, and so, you know, that's why I'm so big on people just understanding that like this, like when you're getting into your health and everything, it's not, you know, just about the things that are seen on the surface. It's not just about your aesthetics. It's not just about, you know, the pictures on Instagram, stuff like that. You know, it's how is this contributing to other areas of my life, and how is this helping to enhance other areas of my life? Because as a pillar, it should be able to support everything else you do. And then there's also parallels between, you know, like your training and like real life. Like I kind of joke around and I say it's a fit philosophy, you know. Like there's elements in fitness that you can take and you can kind of say them in a way that actually applies to other areas of life, you know. You know, so just like, you know, you got to get out of your comfort zone. Everybody knows that if you want growth, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's something that's true in fitness and true in life, right? You know, and then also the importance of balance, right? You know, it's like you can go hard for a period of time, but at a certain point you got to rest and recharge, and then if you want to, you know, sustain. And so just different elements like that. And, you know, yeah, you really can't separate, you know, personal development and health and fitness. You know, they're all part of the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to pivot a little bit because I want to make sure we talk about this. Nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, working out is obviously great, and but that's only half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you eat like complete junk, the working out only goes so far. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously better than nothing, but what is your take on, because I know, I mean, you've gotten certificates in nutrition. What is, because, you know, I've been pondering this a lot the last couple of years. Hill and I both have, because we've really tried to work on our diets and everything. And I'm just like, you know, the diet I'm doing right now it's pretty simple. I'm like, if it wasn't around 100 years ago, then I'm going to avoid eating that. Because, I mean, humans thrived just fine for thousands of years on meat, eggs, rice, things like that. What's your take on, you know, it's so easy to eat unhealthy, you know, in our day and age. Yeah. I mean, and honestly cheaper.
Yeah.
To eat unhealthy in our day and age. But as opposed to taking the time to eat right and what is eating right and whatnot. What is your take on that? I kind of wanted you to dive into the nutrition side because that's like I'm really interested in right now. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people miss that part. You know, most people, they get into the gym, they start working out, but they don't also start curbing the diet as well. What is your take, I guess, on the general nutrition and, like, you know, what you see this day and age with what, you know, how easy it is to consume unhealthy foods versus what we need, you know, what the average person should be doing to try and, you know, I'm not saying you need to eat perfect every single day. Like, that's unrealistic. But to make sure you're alternating your meals of, you know, taking care of yourself. Yeah,
100%, man. So I think the first step is to start where you are, right? So if you have somebody, because I've come across clients that are at both extremes, right? Some of them are just way off, when it comes to eating, and some of them are actually pretty on point, you know.
Right.
And but at the end of the day, you have to start where you're at, you know. So if you have somebody that comes in and they just really don't know what to do with their nutrition, you know, the first thing I'm going to do is have them track their food. Like let's bring awareness to what you're actually taking in on a daily basis. The reason I have them do this is because once you can see where your balance is, your balance, like your intake and all that. Sometimes when people start doing this self-editing or whatever, they're like, okay, maybe I am having too much of this junk food and I should probably cut back, you know what I mean? Because I think that a lot of people know, like, a lot of people, not saying everybody, but a lot of people will have an idea of like, okay, I should probably eat less of this and more of this, And so the first thing I want to do is see where, like, let's see what your starting point is, okay? And so once I see that, I pick the biggest thing that can make pretty much move the needle the most, right? And so like if I see a person is severely lacking on their protein intake, it's like, okay, let's focus on how we can get you like more protein intake. If I see that they're just like really excessively eating, too many like refined sugars, like candy, cookies, things like that, let's see if we can cut back a little bit. I'm never going to tell somebody to unless they're like trying to like compete at a high level as like a bodybuilder or something, which most people aren't.
Right.
For the majority of people, I'm not going to tell you to eat perfectly clean. Like that's not reasonable. I like to enjoy pizza from time to time.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's my thing. It's you got to find a healthy balance.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody. I mean, like you said, unless you're trying to be competitive in some way with bodybuilding or you're trying to get some, 1%er physique of being shredded, something like that, where one donut does matter, But for the most part, for the average person, one donut is not going to affect your overall goals. Yeah. But rotating in, that's kind of what I've started to try and do is like, okay, I ate poorly for lunch, so dinner I've got to eat clean. Or if I have one day where I'm way off, then the next day I'm just going to have to be on point the whole time. Yeah. Which I've found you just have to be okay with eating boring food. Yeah. I mean, to like eat super clean. Yeah. You can obviously dress it up to a degree, but I mean, you've got your core like 30 different foods that like are really good for you and you can eat a good amount of to still feel full, but you're getting the proper nutrition you need, protein and whatnot. So,
and that's the key right there, right? It's just like it's making sure that you get enough of what you need and less of what you don't, right? Like so when it comes down to like from the majority of people, it's not about like a specific diet. It's more so about like making sure they get like majority actual food and not relying on like refined or processed things, So a lot of times I get asked, about like supplements and things like that. And what I tell people is that like supplements can come in handy if you've already like done what you can with your actual like diet when it comes to actual food. Supplements are meant to supplement your diet, not to replace your food, right? At the end of the day, our bodies are still pretty primitive and they still like process actual food better than like, supplements and all that. And so, making sure people get, when it comes down to macros, you have your fats, your proteins, and your carbs, right? Make sure they get the appropriate balance based on what their goal is and all that. But as we all know, nutrition is very psychological, because a lot of times what you're really fighting against is not a lack of knowledge. It's more so like, okay, triggers and impulse control and socioeconomic factors and cultural factors, Sure. So like, for example, so when I was working at one of the other gyms, I came across a lot of clients that were from other countries. And in certain countries, certain like culture, like they only eat particular things, and they can't eat certain things. So it becomes a kind of like a balancing act, and you have to really strategize, right? So, for example, if I have somebody who comes from a culture of like where they're vegetarian, so like they're pretty limited on what they can eat for like their protein intakes, outside of like eggs and yogurt and all that, Right. It's like we have to strategize to make sure they're able to find, like high protein plant-based things, and and just so it's all these other factors that come into play, right? Right. And then also figuring out, okay, if this person is being a little too excessive on, their sweets and everything, is there a trigger behind that? Are they stressed? Like, are they stressed and they reaching for the sweets? Because I've come across that quite a bit too, is that people, like if they're stressed or they're depressed, they either stress eat or they emotionally eat.
Sure.
Because when it comes to like, our hunger and our craving, it's very attached to our emotions.
I'm sure that's extremely common this day and age.
Oh, very. Yeah, even more so. Yeah. Even more so. And so what I like to do is try to like, okay, let's see if we can identify the trigger, and then from there, like, let's see if we can at least like replace it with something, right? It's like if you're craving sweets, or like, let's try some fruit instead of like eating a big old bag of M&Ms,
Right. And that's like I read a book about high performance habits, and that's kind of like the same concept. Like when you have a bad habit, you're trying to replace it with a good habit, as opposed to just trying to cut it out completely. Yeah. Because that's most of the time people fail at the just cold cut out.
Oh yeah.
Completely. It's a better transition to try and curb that habit, or in this case your diet. Yep. Curb that bad sugar into maybe a more productive type of sugar.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just it's kind of like pretty much like a game. It's like a game of substitution, Mm-hmm. And but I think a lot of it comes down to awareness. Like people say, it's like you have to bring awareness like to what your habits are, mm-hmm. like what you're doing, what you are actually putting into your body, so you know like what needs to be changed. Because just like you said, like if you try to make it like cut things out cold turkey and everything, it's like, for example, sometimes I come across clients that are like, okay, I'm just going to like stop eating this or whatever. But it's like, sometimes it's like that's that thing they're trying to cut out. It's not actually the problem. Right. Sometimes the problem is that like, you're just not eating enough protein. Like you need to eat more protein. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like now you're sitting there, it's like you may be severely cutting like your overall calorie intake when you need a little bit more, or vice versa.
Right. Sure.
And so it's like, let's bring awareness to what the actual issue is, so we can put our energy towards that issue. If we need to get you more protein, let's figure out strategies to get you more protein. If that means that you need to spread your meals out over the day and get like or snack on like protein rich foods throughout the day, let's do that. If that means that maybe you need to plan a little bit better, let's do that.
Yeah. And I think you've mentioned it a couple of times. I think the big thing is a lot of people, they're unhappy with the way they look, so they just jump into, I'm just going to start working out and eating less, without an actual goal and plan. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I see most common. They just, okay, I'm going to start going to the gym 3 days a week, and I'm just going to start eating less but if they actually have a goal and a plan to actually follow and understand why, that is why I need this plan to reach this goal. I need 200 grams of protein a day, because even though I'm trying to lose weight, eating that 200 grams of protein, I'm going to eat less of the carbs and the fats to make my protein goal, which is going to help me lose weight.
Yeah.
Because now I'm exercising, so it's going to help my recovery consuming the more protein. Is that kind of what you're seeing too when you're getting these newer clients and everything?
Definitely.
And the people, a lot of people are just kind of scared to even try and talk to a trainer, at first, which I get it, especially if you've never even stepped foot in a gym.
Yeah.
Obviously we came from the same school, so like it was pretty integrated. Most people have at least been in a weight room that, went to Morel Forsyth. Most people, you're encouraged to go through weights at least and at least get introduced to it. So I know it's different with those people that have never, ever even been introduced to weightlifting. But that's why I think it's important for a beginner to get a trainer.
Exactly.
And start on the right foot, because it's way easier to be taught the right form and the healthier ways of doing things than burn yourself out after a month and quit.
Yep. And this is so I'm glad you said that, because like one of the biggest things that we face like when it comes to beginners, right, is the fact that like a lot of them are just they avoid the gym because they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then they're and the anxiety is a thing.
Sure.
Like I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had people come to me and say that like I was terrified to even step foot in here,
Yeah.
like and it's and it's, to me it's like, man, that sucks, because for me it's like the gym it's a space where like we should all be supporting each other. It's like we should all feel comfortable to be ourselves and things like that. And for the most part, like it is, but an outsider, like somebody that hasn't stepped foot in the gym, it's not going to know that right off the bat, right?
Right.
And so I think that it's such an important thing that, like, for me as a trainer, just to make sure that people feel welcome and feel like they can be themselves in the gym and not feel judged, you know? Because it's like at the end of the day, it's like we're all just trying to be better versions of ourselves. We're all trying to be healthy and everything. Right. And it's like my mission is to help make sure that everybody, has that space that they can come and just like they can work on themselves, not feel judged, and and feel good. And at the end of the day, we all want to feel good, right? And it's like I want everybody to feel good in their bodies, feel good. Like I want you to take joy in taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, you know, like beyond the aesthetics and everything, which, you know, obviously you're going to see aesthetic results,
Right.
things like that, right? Beyond the strength results and everything, it's like you want to just be able to do this for a lifetime and to be proud that that you've been able to take care of yourself for a lifetime and do the things that you want to do, you know, even into old age, you know.
Right. Yeah. Fitness is a marathon,
Exactly.
and that, you know, that's what stinks when you see these people. You know, obviously at the gym, you know, we get the new member, and then 3 months later they're not showing up anymore. It sucks because it's like if you just stick with it, like it's a marathon. Don't try and go crazy right out the gate. Like ease into it, get advice, get, you know, a trainer to help you get comfortable.
Yeah.
And get used to some sort of pattern, and just know that this is a lifelong journey. It's just like personal development.
Yep.
It's just like faith and all. It's a lifelong
Yep.
journey, and you're never gonna. I mean, no matter what, I think you and I are both can say we're chasing a different version of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
In the gym, in personal development, spiritually. I mean, we're always trying to grow and be better. And that's part of the exciting part for me. Like,
Yeah.
once you get over the hump, you're like, that's the exciting part. Like, I'm never going to be able to truly, quote unquote, hit my goal, because I'm always going to extend the goal.
Yeah.
Like, once I reach a goal, I'm already going to be pushing it to a different goal, because I want to grow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want to be like, oh, I made it, so now I can coast.
Yep.
No, because I want to be able to still, you know, go on a jog when I'm 80 years old. You know, I want to be able to still do free weights when I'm 80 years old.
100%.
So it's like the longevity piece and the doing things right and taking care of my body is important.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to a lot of people. It's just they don't know how to get on that path,
Yeah.
and they're nervous about. I mean, because you saw it from working small gym, being like freelance for yourself. You've done the corporate world. I mean, why do you think people are so like, I don't know if the word is scared or skittish to approach a trainer to get the help? Is it a financial thing? Is it, why? Because, I mean, I would say most of the time, if someone's taking the time to become a trainer and get those certificates and everything, like, they're passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the time. I'm making a general assumption, but I know from watching you, it makes you happy when somebody comes and asks you for
100%.
advice.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whether they're paying you to train them or not, if just a regular member comes up and says, hey, how would you do this? You're always happy to help them. Hey, this is the proper form for doing this. This is why, you know, hey, actually, you know, that exercise, you know, yeah, you can do it now. But by the time you're 40, you're not going to want to be doing that exercise. You want to be transitioning to this machine that's going to give you, it's going to work the same muscles, but prevent injury.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But
so yeah, that opens up a whole nother can of worms right there, right? Because it's a lot of factors that go into that, right? And so one of the things goes back to the intimidation factor, right?
Uh-huh.
Media has really is a blessing and a curse.
Sure.
Media, like social media in particular, right? Because you get two extremes. Like, you know, on one extreme, it's very beneficial to be able to, you know, get the content out there to get fitness in front of people's faces, to make them aware of it, right? But on the flip side of that, you also get a lot of misconstrued, representations of like for fitness and like, you know, what a trainer does and everything, right? And so for a lot of people, for most people, you know, they have this they have the wrong image of like what a trainer. They think that, man, if I go to a trainer, I got to get in shape to get a trainer. And it's like, you don't have to get in shape to get a trainer. The trainer is going to help you get in shape. You know?
Right.
But a lot of people, like, you know, they think that like, I'm not ready for that. You know, now understanding that a trainer is going to meet you. A good trainer should meet you where you're at. You know,
right. You don't wait until I'm having trouble walking because of this muscle. No, go to the trainer. He'll help you recover that muscle.
Exactly. Yep.
And then get you on the path of strengthening that muscle.
Yep.
You know, don't say, I got to wait till it's all the way healed. Obviously, if you had a surgery or something, you got to wait till a certain point. But if you're just having some issues, or like people that have lower back problems, things like that, like, go see the trainer.
Yep.
Because he or she will help you start strengthening the muscles that need to be strengthened, stretching properly, things like that, to actually fix that issue.
100%. Yep. And but unfortunately, a lot of people like they don't see that, and so that's one of the issues right there, right? It's just like like I said, the intimidation factor. Also, is the fact that when it comes to training, like the training industry is a mixed bag. It really is. Like and you get there are trainers that are very passionate about fitness, and there's some that like that, just kind of want to just kind of like, yo, I think this would be cool to do because I saw it on social media, especially in this generation, and there's a lot of them that, speaking on like the downside of it, right, is that there's a lot of people that get into fitness that that they think it's something that'll look cool, be fun to do, or whatever, and they may be good at working out themselves, but they're not good at like actually coaching other people. That's two different things, you know what I mean? Right. And so unfortunately, I think that a lot of people like see that or whatever, and they think they're like, oh man, like with trainers, it's not a serious thing, you know what I mean? Now realizing that there's a plethora of good, compassionate coaches that want to actually meet them where they're at, build them up from there, encourage them, pour into them, and give them that structure and that guidance, But just like with anything, right, it's just like unfortunately the small minority, that little bit of negativity, whatever, kind of permeates throughout the whole thing. That's what people hyper focus on, and so that's becomes another problem right there. And then, of course, cost is always a tricky thing because for the majority of people, I mean, let's be real, training is not cheap. Hiring a personal trainer is not always the most cost effective and everything. Right. And that's completely understandable, So one thing when I was working at Corporate Virginia, because I worked at Crunch Fitness up in Bloomington, right? And so one of my jobs as leading a team of trainers and everything was to bringing on these new trainers and everything was to teach them how to explain the value of training and everything, so people can understand what they're paying for, because it definitely helps when people know the value of what they're getting. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that finances are not still going to be an issue and everything, because everybody's at different places and all that. Right. But it definitely helps a lot if somebody can understand what they're actually putting their money to. Like they're not just these clients are not just coming to you just to pay you money just for you to put them through exercise. They're paying for your guidance, for your presence, your attention, you to teach them, you to to motivate them, you to keep them on track, the accountability, you to give them that structure and that system, that plan going forward. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it, to be able to make adjustments on the fly. You know what I mean? If
you're going to help make goals.
You know what I mean? Exactly. We're going to set let's set goals. I'm going to challenge you, but I'm also going to be there to listen to you if you've got something some issues going on or whatever. It's okay, well, let's work around that. You know what I mean? And that's something that a trainer can provide that that a lot of people especially newer people, right? Don't necessarily know how to do right off the top, right off the back, And so a good coach or trainer is going to help you with all that, right? The clear goal setting, the structure, they're going to give you that attention, that presence, they're going to make sure you're doing things correctly, to not hurt yourself. They're going to help you to make the necessary adjustments, because at the end of the day, my goal is to help you to integrate these your fitness and your wellness into your lifestyle, you know what I mean? Right. And it's I don't want you to feel that that fitness is some separate thing from you. I was no, this is meant to enhance your life, whatever. So I'm going to help you to integrate this into your lifestyle so that you become an overall healthy person. Right. You know what I mean? Outside of just it's I just go to the gym and work out, whatever. It's this is going to enhance other areas of your life, and I'm going to show you how we can put all the pieces together. Right. Right.
So. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I mean, and because like you said, it's not just paying $40 or whatever for a session. It's you're getting knowledge, you're getting trained how to properly do exercises, you're getting advice, you're getting help goal setting, you're sitting there recording everything for them, and you're already pre-planning, hey, this is the next workout and this is how we're going to do this. You can map out, hey, if they say, hey, my goal is to lose 15 pounds in the next 20 weeks, 15 weeks, whatever, you can map that out in a way, not just the physical part of the training, but the nutrition side as well. Yeah. You're helping with all of that. So it's not just, I think it just gets that small-minded rap of, gosh, $40 for 50 minutes of working out, like that's
Yeah.
that's really expensive. Yeah, but you're getting all of this other stuff too. And how important is it for you to? And a good trainer is gonna, if you're with them for 3 or 6 months, you're gonna be able to kind of keep it going yourself after that. Like,
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
trainer is setting you up to, like,
Yeah.
not train you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
They're setting you up so you can start doing your own stuff. You can start keeping yourself accountable.
Yeah.
You're kind of that foundational stepping stone
Exactly.
to getting somebody on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
keeping them accountable. And the nice thing is they can always come back to you and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to switch it up. Like, I've been kind of doing these same things now for a year and a half, and then you can kind of oh, your new goal is you want to do bodybuilding. Okay, well, that's a totally different set of skills, and that's a totally different set of workout and nutrition plan.
Yep.
And you can set them up on that path.
Yep.
So that's kind of the cool thing, in my opinion, when it comes to the training and everything. And that's why, obviously, like, working out around you and with you sometimes and stuff over the years, it's, there's just so many different things to learn.
Yeah.
And, observing other people doing different lifts and stuff, it always, raises the question of if that's a good exercise or not. But that's why it's nice you can go to a trainer. Hey, I saw this video on this type of exercise, and you're good to say, hey, that's a great exercise. If your goal is to strengthen this part of your body, then but I wouldn't do 3 to 6 reps like this guy was. He's trying to be a bodybuilder, or he's trying to be a strongman.
Yep.
You should really do like 8 to 12 reps because you're just trying to strengthen that muscle and tone that muscle, stuff like that. And when it comes to training, what would you say is kind of like the main goal after you've been with somebody for a few months? Is it to just set them, is it to set them free, or is it to say, hey, we're going to change your goals, and what do you want the next goals to be? What is kind of your usual goal when you've had somebody for like 3 or 6 months?
Yeah, it just depends on the person. You know, what they originally hired me for, right? So if they're like, there's plenty of people that I've had for long term, you know what I mean? That they're just like, hey, I'm not gonna get in here unless I have somebody holding me accountable to get in. And and that's okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
there's nothing wrong with that.
My goal is that hopefully you have the capacity to be able to do things on your own and everything, and that pretty much I want to make myself unnecessary, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I want to set you up.
I feel like that's what a good trainer does. Right?
Yes.
That's what a good coach does. That's what a good teacher does.
So what I try to do is so I try to, that's why I try to teach people like the systems, and not everybody follows it the way that's what they should, but it is what it is. It's an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah.
So I teach people like let's get the habits, because the habits will lead to the result, right? So it's like when I tell you to track your food for a reason. I tell you to eat X amount of protein, etc., for a reason. I tell you to do these when you're not do whatever exercises when you're not in the gym for a reason. You know what I mean? Like trying to give them a system so that they can continue on like without me and everything. But if they choose to keep them to stick with me and everything, like that's fantastic too.
Right.
And then we'll just we'll just adjust like their goals as we go forward and everything. So it just really depends on like what that person is wanting to do, and it's client first. Always always put the client first. Yeah. So
what would be 3? Because we're going to wrap this up a little bit, and I'm going to give 3 pieces of advice, but then I want to do a part 2 sometime soon, because I feel like there's a whole other side that I want to talk about, but I feel like it would take us even longer than the side we've already talked about. So what would be a few things of advice you would give somebody that new to working out, new to fitness, that they should look for in a trainer? Somebody that's coming to a new gym, first time, they know they want a trainer because they don't know what they're doing. What would be a few things that you would say, hey, you need, because you've seen the fake trainers before. I mean, you've been around them. So what are some things that you would say, hey, you need to ask these questions, or these are the things you need to look for to get a solid trainer?
I would say the first thing is, do they care? Do they seem like they care? because at the end of the day, personal training is first and foremost personal, right? Like I said, client first, client comes first, you know. So does it seem like they care? If they're like, if they kind of blow you off dismissive, or if they're just kind of just don't seem like they care or whatever, like don't go with that person, because a lot of times, you can have like somebody can be very knowledgeable or whatever, but not good with people. You know what I mean? And like they're just like they don't know how to connect with the person.
Right.
And if say a potential client sees that or whatever, they're like, I don't care what you. It's like people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care, right?
Right.
And so first and foremost, does it seem like this person cares? And then next is like obviously like you want to make sure that they have like a solid base of knowledge. Like, does it look like they practice what they preach or whatever? And I'm not saying that they have to have like some bodybuilder physique or whatever, but it's like, do they actually fight like practice what they preach? Like,
but they need to they need to be in decent shape.
They need to be they need to
they don't need to be ripped out of their mind or anything and massive, but you're not going to hire a 6 foot 280 pound guy to train you that is not in good shape.
Yeah. And so I would say it's like, do they practice what they preach and everything? It's definitely a big one. And I would say the third one would be, I would say maybe like watch how they interact with other people as well. Because at the end of the day, like I said, like how you relate to people. Because if you get a client and they just don't like being around you, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have in the world, right? Like they're not going to want to be motivated to show up. They're not going to want to show up. You know what I mean? Because they don't like being around you. But if they like being around you, there's people that'll come just because they like being around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that says something like by itself, and And I guess if you want to add like a bonus and everything, obviously like get an idea of like what their experience is, like what is their background, their story.
Yeah. Do they have some testimonies?
Yeah.
Maybe
Testimonies
for some clients.
Yeah, like what's their story? Like what is their motivation for doing it? You know what I mean? Like maybe credentials. I would say obviously you want to look for some credentials and things like that, but. Definitely I say like the testimonials, the background, like what motivates them to actually want to train and help people. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so because those things are right there are like the core of of what a trainer should be at heart, right? Because technical knowledge, obviously you want to have a good foundation, but technical knowledge can be gained, right? There's no shortage of information and new certifications and in new more textbooks and all that, and more videos that you can watch to gain more knowledge and everything. Once you have a good grasp on on the foundational elements, then it's like you can really you can continue to learn as time goes on, and so I would say those are probably the things I would definitely look
that
for.
makes total sense. Nope. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming on. We're going to do a part 2 because like I said, I feel like there's a whole other side that I want to go into, but I don't want it to be too lengthy on one episode. I want to split it up into 2. So I appreciate you coming on, and everyone look forward to part 2 coming soon.